With over 400 celebrity interviews and tons of pop culture nerdiness, Too Opinionated is a safe haven for your inner geek. Find us at meistercon.com or on YouTube under MeisterCon Pod. And please subscribe. It would really help us out. Thanks, everybody. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. I'm so excited today. I've got stunt worker, precision driver, Zandara Kennedy with me. So welcome, Zandara.
Thank you so much.
So we were talking, you're not in your shop, although if you had told me that was your shop, I'd have been like, okay, it looks like a precision driver shop. But you're not in your shop because you had a car fire.
I did. One of my cars, the car that I was competing in for the last few years, caught fire during a practice event a few weeks ago. So the shop that I brought it to is the shop. It's owned by Matt Field, who is another Formula Drift driver.
Yeah. See, I knew you were a badass before we got on here, but then we started with, you said, the car caught on fire. It was inconvenient.
Well, it is inconvenient. You should see half my engine bay is just melted. All the wires are destroyed. So I have to basically rebuild everything, which I find inconvenient.
So when you have something like that happens, is it like the rest of us where more than likely it's our fault, or is it more equipment based?
Well, so that's an interesting question. And I guess it depends on your philosophy, because really when it comes down to it, everything's our fault, right?
Yeah,
equipment
right.
can fail, but if we inspect things thoroughly, so with race cars, everything comes loose, everything can fail. So generally speaking, before we drive, we do what's called a nuts and bolts. And you get under the car and you check everything, most of which is marked by paint marks. And you'll actually put a wrench on stuff too at the beginning and the end of the day.
Is it different colored paint?
So the way that I like to do it is a different color for each time that I mark it, so that I know when I look at it which one is newer based on the color sequence that I've set out. I stole that from the film industry, actually. I'm not
that
sure
makes
if you're
sense
familiar
because
with
you would want
colors.
to know, where it was in the process.
Yeah.
So what is precision driving racing? What does that mean?
So I actually do two things separately. So as a precision driver, I work on car commercials, I work on TV shows, do car chases, and I work in really tight proximity with an arm car. It's basically a crane on top of a Mercedes that can move 360, and then the camera is controlled. So when I'm doing precision work, it's a lot of that. It's proximity without ever going over the limit and damaging equipment or people. And then I compete.
Is that why it's called precision? If you're causing damage, not too precise, is that the...
No. When they sell the brand new Kia or the brand new Hyundai, they don't really like it when you rub the corners of it on things.
Oh yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the racing though, that's separate.
That is separate, yeah. So the specific kind of racing I do is drifting, which is basically the figure skating of racing, because it's not for time, it's for a score, and then you do head-to-head battles side by side, driving sideways with tire smoking.
Yeah, that's really, I didn't even know that existed. That's kind of awesome.
It's pretty much the best thing there is, in my opinion, and I've gotten to do some pretty cool things.
Yeah, how did you get involved in that?
So as I started pursuing stunts, I was pretty young. I was 18 or 19 when I started getting into stunts, and I started taking all kinds of courses. I knew that driving was something that would be important if I wanted to have a long career. So I took stunt driving classes, and I really liked it. I bought a car and I practiced at home. And then I just kept going to more classes, rally school, race school. And then I found out about a drift school, and I went there and was like, oh, this is basically pure drugs, and I need to do this 100% of the time. So it started off trying to become the best driver, the best stunt driver I could be. And it just became this addiction, this addictive passion. And then I started competing, and I got a pro license, and I think I'm the first Canadian woman to be able to compete at the pro level in drifting. So I felt like it was something I had to do.
That's pretty awesome. So when you say you bought a car to practice in, were your neighbors just like, what is she doing?
Well, I didn't practice, at where I lived. I went home after my first course. I think I was 19. I bought a 1987 Ford Crown Victoria, and I would take it out anytime it rained, on weekends, late at night, to like abandoned parking lots, and I would just practice, sliding the classic, like parking behind a dumpster or reverse 180s, any kind of car chase stuff. I would just practice it.
Well, so when you were first starting out doing that,
Mhm.
did you have any mishaps? Did you hurt yourself at any time, or was it all just smooth?
I bruised some cars for sure. I mean, that car, when I was finished with it, I mean, it's funny, we were just looking at it about 10 years ago. We made a little short called Two Girls, One Car. So you know exactly when it was that we made it. And a friend of mine who's another stunt girl, she was basically on the roof of the car while I was doing the driving, and it was a fight scene that we did while I was driving. Kind of just a fun little project. People, when they're getting into stunts, they'll shoot things to kind of show their skill sets. But yeah, when we finished with that car, you could only get in the passenger side. None of the panels were straight. The bumper, it was destroyed. But I hadn't done any property damage to things other than the car. So
yeah, well, that's not terrible. And if it was an 87, that's not too bad, because
tanks.
It's what, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Those 80s cars, because I drove them. That's when I was, getting my license.
Mm-hmm.
They were heavy, and now if you got them going, they go pretty fast.
Don't necessarily stop as quickly as a modern car, but
they do not. They don't turn the best.
No.
But yeah, if you just need a tank, they were pretty good.
Yeah, the stunt driving course that I took originally is sort of a classic, and it's been running for something like 40 years. And when I took it, it was a fleet of 70s and 80s Caprices and Crown Victorias. They still have the same cars now. I'm not kidding you.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, you think, to me, that doesn't seem that long ago, but it's been 40 years.
Been a little while.
So you've worked on like all the stuff.
Yeah, I've been really lucky.
You've been really lucky. I saw you did some work on Nancy Drew. We've had a lot of that cast has come on the program, but you did some work on the X-Men movies. I know you worked on a show called Aftermath that I really love with Anne Heche, and maybe did some doubling for her. I'm guessing driving would be the doubling.
I did, yes, correct.
Yeah. So any desire during all that to do acting, or are you happy with the stunt work?
What's so funny is I do a little bit of acting, and generally speaking, there are some roles that sort of intersect. The nurse in the hospital gets bitten by a zombie. She turns into a zombie, attacks somebody, gets shot. Depending on what the action is planned for the character, sometimes they will cast stunt people
who can fun.
act. I definitely prefer the pressure. I have to be honest. I prefer the pressure of doing physical stunts. I'm really great at memorizing dialogue, but man, like delivering that under pressure, it's to me way more stressful than anything else I could do on set, which is not how it is for most people. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Well, and I saw one of our favorite shows, my son and I, was Psych. And I saw you did some doubling for Maggie Lawson. We're good friends with her ex-husband, Ben Koldike, who still talks just glowing about her, just thinks she's the best. But I saw you got to do some driving for her.
I did. And you know what? I was really thrilled to get to do that driving, because Psych is one of my favorite shows as well. I started watching it only because I saw the signs all over Vancouver when it was shooting, and then I was like, this show is amazing. I want to work on it.
I know, and they're still making some movies, which is kind of great.
Yeah.
Is that one that they, when they decide they're going to do something else, do they give you a call?
So they've used the same stunt coordinator, I think, for the entire series and all the movies. So he'll call me. I'm not the best double for Maggie outside of the car. I'm a little bit taller than she is, but he definitely calls me for all the vehicle stuff.
Yeah.
And actually, one of my only acting jobs was on Psych.
Oh, what was your role?
I was, I think I was angry hotel maid. And what's funny about that role is when I auditioned for it, in the sides, it's described that, rather than give her a tip, it's like 5 cents and a piece of a button and a piece of pocket lint or something. And it's scripted that she gives him the finger. And I just did like a flippant, like, right. And I got to set. And so we were running the lines and I did exactly what it was scripted. And they're like, oh, you can't do that. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, it says it here.
Says
like
it right here.
Super. And because it was a show that I actually watched, it was a lot more pressure than acting with people that I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Well, so did they keep it in?
No, they realized that no, I can't. My role is in there, but I'm not giving the finger anymore.
Yeah, that's a little disappointing. That'd be the fun part.
I mean, it's family friendly, I guess, that show, right? That's what made it so great, is they could do so much without ever being inappropriate, really.
Yeah. That show is it's one of those that when we first started watching it, we're like, what are we watching? Yeah. But then you just all of a sudden you're just like, I love this show.
Yeah, and so the level of the pop culture references,
that's the best part about it. I mean, we're a pop culture podcast, so I mean that's kind of our wheelhouse. So yeah, we love that show. So with your stuff, are you basically training all the time?
Yeah. So up until the year before last, I was coordinating full-time Nancy Drew and then doing other stunt driving in between and kind of drifting when I could. When I declared my intention to compete in Formula Drift for 2023, I basically kind of walked away from most of my serious adult responsibilities. And and I did a 20,000-mile tour across the US to different drift tracks to get the seat time to practice, because I really want to show up and be competitive. So
I mean, that's
basically as much driving as possible.
It's athletic. So you have to train like an athlete, I would assume.
I mean, and that's what's interesting about race car driving, is it's not like you can just go to the gym or like go practice shooting hoops, right? You have to take your car to the racetrack, inspect the car, make sure it's good, do maintenance on the car. And so it really does take a team of people to make it possible. Yeah,
I think that's so interesting. Good for you for taking the time to do it. But don't you also like train martial arts, that type of stuff too?
I used to. I used to do a lot of things, but this year it's definitely been all cars and all fixing cars. My background is actually trampoline and circus, so my number one favorite thing is just.
Oh yeah, I read that you were going to do the Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah.
Are you still good on a trampoline?
So I haven't jumped on a trampoline in a year. I had a very bad concussion last March on set. I did a car crash, and I couldn't read for a while after that. So I have not risked shaking my brain. Because smart. It is every time you land, there's a bit of impact on your brain. But up until that point, I was still able to do twisting doubles. That's and amazing. Lots of really dumb tricks.
Yeah, that's amazing. My son, who does the editing for the podcast, he was football, and his freshman year of high school, he got hit and got just a severe concussion, and had to spend about a month in the dark because he couldn't stand any light. And it took him, really a couple years to get all the way back with that. It's scary. Yeah. Head injuries are scary.
You really don't know which one it's going to be either. What was interesting about that crash is I didn't hit my head, but it was rotational. And with stunts, we do so many impacts with the ground, with walls, with all of that stuff. And anytime your body stops, your brain is taking a small impact. So you don't know which time you shake it is going to be the time, which I think is a lot like football, right? They're getting tackled all the time.
Yeah, you never know. And it's usually when it happens, it's not the one that you would think.
No.
It's not the big hit that everybody sees and stuff. That one, they usually bounce right up. It's one of them that you may not even notice. Like we didn't realize that he had a concussion. He finished the practice and stuff, and then we're talking to him after, and he wasn't making any sense.
Yeah, I mean, for me, same thing. Like I didn't lose consciousness. We did the shot at like 5 a.m. after a night shoot. I went home, I went to bed, and I didn't realize, like, I didn't feel great, but that's normal.
Not a good, you're not supposed to sleep right after.
Well, yeah, I didn't know. But then the following night, I went for dinner, and we got the bill, and I picked it up and was like, oh, that's upside down. And I turned it and was like, huh, That is also upside down. And that was the moment when I kind of clued in that maybe my brain wasn't
Maybe
doing
you
so
have
well.
heard something.
Maybe you need to go home without driving and be in the dark.
Yeah. So we talked a
Yeah.
little about you being comfortable with fire. What got you to that point? How did you prepare yourself where now it's like it's more of an inconvenience than, oh my God, fire.
Well, fire frequently is involved in a lot of stunt work. And I've been really lucky to have had the opportunity to do quite a few fire burns for work. So
Yeah.
I have this relationship with fire that is kind of, when you get set on fire the first time, you have this almost very natural primal reaction of get it away from me.
Yeah.
This is not okay. And when you learn to kind of work through that, you realize the thing with fire burns is you basically do the burn until you get hot. And there's a line between like warm and okay, now I'm actually burning. Now
Yeah.
we have gels that enable us to basically keep the skin cool, and the gel has to heat up before you would ever burn. So we are able to prolong the amount of time a person can spend on
Right.
fire. And I actually, since I've
Who
had the
figured that
opportunity,
out though? Who figured out how
well,
long was too long?
I mean, so the guys that developed the gel that I've used mostly is made by a company called Fire for Hire, and they're a Canadian stunt company. And they did all the testing, right? They do the testing, and when you have a big fire scene, you bring them out. And I work with them quite a bit, both as a
Yeah.
fire safety and doing the burns. If you've had the cast of Nancy Drew on the show, I convinced them to let me set Kennedy on fire, and we did a real fire burn with Kennedy for I think it was season
She
2.
talked about that
Yeah.
on the podcast. Yeah. She said she was a little nervous.
She was, and there was some history for her where fire was extra scary for her
Yeah.
because of some history that she had. But I talked to her and I was like, "Hey, I want to suggest this. What do you think?" And she was like, "Okay, yeah, I'm game to try it." And I have to say, she was a total badass. Like she nailed it. She was cool as a cucumber, and I'm so glad that we got to do that with her.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. What a neat profession you have that you're kind of stepping away from, so you can go and race.
Yeah, I'm lucky that I can go back and do day calls, but I won't be setting Kennedy on fire again anytime soon.
Can you talk a little bit about the Racing Pride organization?
So Racing Pride is really cool. It started in the UK. It was started by a guy named Richard Morris, and he is a gay race car driver from the UK. And I think he kind of looked around the pits and was like, really don't see anyone like me. And he was very afraid to be openly who he was,
Yeah.
which is what was the same experience that I had as I got into drifting. I never really felt too isolated as a woman, even though at the professional level, I'm only one of 3 women competing in a field of 100 people.
Wow.
So there's not many of us. But as I started getting into professional racing, a lot of it becomes sponsorship, marketing partnerships, and what you're selling or what your image is really important to the people you're working with. And I kind of accidentally, just by not being a public person, ended up in a situation where people didn't know I was gay. And
okay.
I wanted to find other gay people in motorsports in North America so that I could see that people were doing what I was doing and want to,
Yeah.
you want to feel not alone in your journey, basically. And I couldn't find anyone. I found nobody on it. Like I was Googling, Instagram, all of it, like trying all of the avenues. And someone that I contacted in the UK ended up connecting me with Richard just as Racing Pride was started. And so now I'm one of the ambassadors for Racing Pride. There are a few other racer ambassadors in North America. And basically the concept for Racing Pride is just around working to increase LGBTQ plus representation in the motorsport arena, not just in the drivers, but in the pits and in every arena.
See, I kind of love that because we're seeing that in all kinds of organizations.
Mm-hmm.
So it's needed everywhere. Yeah. But this is the first time I've heard of it on the racing front. So I kind of love that because it gives you that community and that support that maybe you were lacking. That has to be, because going in just as one of the only females that's scary enough or intimidating enough. And then you add this into it. That's a lot.
It is intimidating. And I realized that, if I don't see the community that I want to have around me, then my opportunity there is to build it and to
Yeah.
show other people that are younger than me, there is a place for you here. This is something you can consider.
Have you tried the, join our community and we'll teach you how to set yourself on fire?
I should try that angle. A whole other kind of flaming.
Have you found yourself in a position where you've got to kind of be an ambassador with other younger women that are wanting to get into what you're doing?
Yeah, very much. And it's something that I've pursued. I've done within the stunt community. I had started doing some workshops for women and women of color because I felt like there weren't enough women driving. I'm now working with an organization called the Della Penna Next Gen Foundation that works with high school girls and younger girls to try to introduce them to motorsports sooner, because a lot of it is not being exposed to it. Like if you don't know it exists or is an option for you, how can you seek it out?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Like when I was growing up, we had the three main sports. That was it. There just, there was no soccer, there was no golf, there was no tennis, none of that. So none of us played any of those.
Yeah.
But once those started to come in, then you get all these people that are kind of curious, want to try that out. They get in it, they find out they're actually good at it or they love it. And there they go. Yeah, I think that's terrific. I probably should have said that you have worked on like every superhero show out there.
Many
like all
of them,
the
not all
CW shows, you've done most of those.
Yeah. So we're very lucky in Vancouver. We have a strong CW contingent.
Yeah.
So
have you got to wear? Have they put you in costume yet?
So what's funny is I've worn some costumes. I did a lot of driving for Batwoman. I mostly do the driving on all of those cape shows. I almost did a day on Supergirl. I actually put the suit on in the fitting, and then their scheduling changed, and I
did you get some pictures at least?
I have like a picture. I was like, oh my god, this fits. So
I mean,
amazing.
when are you going to have a Supergirl costume on again?
Exactly. Never.
Javicia from Batwoman's been on the show, and she was awesome. She was terrific. But you've been on, weren't you on like Arrow too? Or Flash, maybe, and Flash, maybe both.
Yeah, Arrow, Flash, Legends. I think I've probably, if it's shot in Vancouver, so most of the CW superhero shows, I
mean, that's pretty, I'm a comic book guy, so that's pretty cool.
It was pretty fun, I have to say.
About the science fiction side of it, have you got into that?
What did I get to work on? I mean, Aftermath was a good one.
Aftermath was a very underrated show, I think.
Yeah.
We did the Atom Project. That's kind of sci-fi.
Oh, yes. The Atom Project was probably at least top 2 for me, and I couldn't name the other one right now of shows that I've worked on.
I should have just looked down. You've done X-Files, Van Helsing, 12 Monkeys. You've put in, I mean, you're not that old. You've done a lot of work in a short period of time.
I've been very lucky, and now I'm taking all of that luck and I'm investing it all in racing like a person that doesn't know they're going to get old.
Yeah. If we want to watch drift racing, where can we find it?
So there's lots of drifting of different levels all over the place. I believe Clutch Kickers was a series I ran last year that has some recorded live streams. And then there's Formula Drift, which is what I'll be competing in this year, and FormulaD.com or Formula Drift on YouTube.
Yeah, I got to check some of that out. Yeah. The only drifting that I really have experience with would be like, Fast and the Furious type of stuff. Which is probably why it's starting to get so popular, because it's been out there where everybody's been watching. Have you worked on one of those yet?
I haven't. I've worked with the team from Fast and the Furious, but I'm going to confess that even though I drift competitively, I've never seen a Fast and the Furious movie. I know that's blasphemous, but
that is a little bit. Although I haven't seen all of them either, but there at the beginning, I was on board. I was watching those. I was checking them out. Well, this has been terrific. You got to come back. There's so much more we need to talk about.
There really is.
Can you teach me to drift?
I could.
Hmm.
Hmm.
We'd have to have a really slow car.
Well, usually the advice we give people is start in a low horsepower car. So, 120 horsepower
Maybe like
Toyota
a
Corolla.
riding
Yeah.
lawnmower or something like that.
I mean,
Okay.
you could do that, but just a manual Toyota Corolla, just full throttle the whole time. People drive Volvos. Anything rear wheel drive will do it,
Do
preferably
you
manual.
ever just relax? What do you do on your downtime? You know what
I'm
I
not
mean?
sure what
Is
that
it
is. Yeah.
still active, or do you
Mhm.
actually, sit and paint or something?
Oh no, no. I just got a drift sim to practice so that I can spend
Oh,
less money on tires and fuel to practice. So that's kind of like being still.
yeah, that's
Uh,
kind of
I have
awesome.
that, or I go
That's
motorcycle
the
riding.
one. Teach me on that.
Oh, you don't want me teaching you. You know what's funny is it's apparently really easy to start with sim racing and transfer into real driving, but most of the drivers I know that didn't learn on a sim hate it.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Well, so before we wrap up, is there anything else that you're working on that we can keep an eye out?
Well, um, I'm very excited for a couple upcoming shows. I can't reveal too much. The Night Agent is supposed to be coming up soon, and I got to do some
Well,
really fun work on that, as well as the new Goosebumps TV show.
oh, really?
Yeah. I'm not no spoilers, but those two are going to be
Did
excellent.
you get to put on makeup for that? Are you one of the creatures?
I mean, I got some makeup put on, but you
All
know,
right. All
nothing
right.
unusual.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think your whole life so fascinating to me. You're just a badass.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, last thing before we wrap up, where can we find you on social media so we can follow?
So I'm Z Drives across all the platforms, ZEE Drives. And then I'm zdrives.com or zandarakennedy.com has a bit more information about me.
Yeah, yeah, I had no trouble finding you, which I
That's
I,
good.
I didn't think I would, but then it came up Z Drive, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it's pretty great. Well,
Straightforward.
please come back, talk to us some more, maybe after the season, so
I'd
you
love
can
that, or
tell
even
us how
mid-season.
the racing season.
If it's going well, I'll come on during the season. If it's not, we'll talk after.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. If you're kicking everybody's butt, or at
Yeah.
least being competitive, yeah, come back and talk. If
If
not,
I'm
then we'll
making
wait.
history,
Yes.
yeah,
Is there
perfect.
last I thought of one more before we go. Is there
Yeah.
anybody that's in drift racing that you were, kind of looked up to or modeled yourself after?
Oh man, it's really hard. As a woman, I don't have a lot of
Yeah.
direct role models, and there's never been a woman at the top level of professional drifting because there are two tiers.
Yeah.
But I've been really lucky. I work with a coach, Taka Ono, who competed in the first 12 seasons of Formula Drift,
Wow.
and he still works with me now. I have a ton of admiration for him. He taught me a lot about working on cars by making me do it and just making sure I didn't screw it up, which I
Awesome.
love. And where I am now, Matt Field and also Rad Dan are two really excellent people and excellent drifters in Formula Drift.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Zandara, thank you so much. It's such a
Thank you.
pleasure to meet you. I was a fan like immediately when I started reading through your stuff, but now that I've talked to you, I'm like a legit fan.
Oh, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it.
I'll have to, I don't know, I'll start a fan club or something.
I would love that. I'll send you a t-shirt.
Oh yeah, yeah. I gotta have a T-shirt.
Oh, here you
Something
go.
with
This is one of them. Got my
Oh
car.
yeah.
Although I might do a new edition now with the car on
That's
fire.
not the
Since
burn up car, is it?
it is.
Okay.
It is.
Classic
Yeah,
collector's
exactly.
item.
That's right.
All right,
Cool.
Zandara, hold on one second. Wow, Zandara Kennedy. We have had, I think, some of the um, biggest badasses, women that you could find anywhere. Zandara right there at the top. I mean, she's amazing. That's incredible the things that she is able to do. So I hope you really enjoyed that. I know I did. I just big fan of hers, and good for her for using her platform to encourage other young women to help out with Racing Pride, their organization. I just think that's amazing. Just a really talented, inspirational individual. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you're finding us for the first time, you could really help us out. Please subscribe. If you're watching, it's YouTube, MeisterCon Pod. If you're listening, wherever you're listening to your podcast at, subscribe there. Thank you guys so much. Oh, don't forget to check out our website, meistercon.com. You can find all of our interviews, audio and video. I think we're up to about 530 now. So there's plenty of things, of people, everything that you love on the pop culture side is on there on the website, meistercon.com. So definitely check us out. Thank you guys so much. Till next time. Bye, everybody.